Hello.
Hello.
Hi.
Hey, everybody.
How are you?
Waking up.
Coming
to life.
Land. Hello, Facebook land. Hello, people.
Hello,
And YouTube
What up,
land.
Coach?
YouTube too.
Before we get started, friendly reminder, even while we're covering this, to those of you who are watching us live, we would love to hear you, what you have to say. Feel free to comment. We will be sort of living in the realm of core competency. So we'll speak into that as best we can throughout this. But if you have a question or something arises, please participate. To our 102 students who will be watching this, hi, welcome. You're on video 3, so you already know the deal. And I think that is all we have for the time being. Let's rock and roll, shall we? I need to pull up my core competencies, don't I? And my cat is trying to hop on my lap.
I have mine. I can read the first segment of it. Ready?
And we should have it in a caption as well, I would hope. Yeah. So we're still in co-creating the relationship here. We're going to go into core competency number 5 right now, if I remember correctly. And what is that competency, Lisa?
Maintains presence. The definition is fully conscious, no passing out. Although I do have a story.
Oh gosh.
And present with the client, employing a style that is open, flexible, grounded, and confident. Oh, Brooke, we can't hear you. I see your lips moving.
I muted myself to make sure we didn't have audio issues. So,
Nice.
So do we want to speak into that at all? Anything? I mean, I would hope we're conscious.
I did pass out once.
I think it means more than that, though. Of course, we're being very literal.
You passed out once?
I did.
Oh, please tell us more.
She was sick.
I was sick. I passed out. I came to, and my clients were saving me.
Really sick.
Wow. Oh my God.
But I continued coaching. Don't you know?
Well, I will tell you, this is interesting, and I hope that none of my mom's clients are in the world right now to be able to hear this. But my mom was a family and couples therapist, and she realized that it was time to change careers when she was falling asleep in sessions. I mean, she was tired, there was a lot. She was also working from like 8 a.m. to 9 p.m. So when you're talking about being, Anthony's watching us. So when you're talking about being fully conscious and present, she knew that she was not giving her clients what they really deserved and should have. And so she took a break and she became a real estate agent. But anyways, then she was also doing therapy in real estate because, people are making big decisions.
Big time. Yeah.
But I do want to lean into this just a little, just because I'm with Dan in a 102 class this week. And, the idea of being flexible, not attached to outcomes, really being centered in your own well-being so that you can show up for the client. All of that fosters the ability to maintain presence for them when you're doing it for yourself as well. Pass.
And that also means that you're not lost in your own thoughts about what the client is saying. Like you're not setting up the next question. You're not, getting that stage all prepared to be the show. Sam, I saw you start to say something.
Yeah, you're there in the moment, checking in with yourself. Of course, physically, I haven't passed out in a client session before, but I have suffered the ramifications of not sleeping well the night before and then waking up for a 7 a.m. client. I was definitely not as present as I could have been in that moment. So getting enough sleep definitely helped, and staying present in the moment. Like you said, Lisa, not setting things up, not having a predetermined set of questions, but being so entrenched in what's in front of you that your curiosity can flex around and play around in the moment versus trying to run ahead. It's like I've explained this in 101s. You're exploring alongside the client in that present moment. You're not running ahead of them and trying to set a path up for them. So that's where presence comes in.
And if we just dive in the opposite of that real quick, the opposite is in our daily life, most of us do have to troubleshoot things. We do have to prepare. We do want to stay steps ahead, right? And we're saying here, that's not the work.
I think we're going to dive deeper into this, of course, as we move through these core competencies. But that flexible and confident piece, that confident piece is interesting. We were going to have to talk more into that in a minute, I think. But let's move through our bullet points. We don't have a lot, so we can circle back up. Perhaps to address that confident, but let's go through these. Our first sub competency under this one is remains focused, observant, empathetic, and responsive to the client. We've kind of talked about that a bit, right? We have tons of videos that can dive into empathy and what being empathetic is. Observant, focused, we're there, we're present. Any other thoughts in this first bullet point here? Well, the responsive is kind of a newer side of it. We haven't delved in that. It kind of says its own, but what do you think, Jen? What's your thought on this part of 5.1 where we're responsive?
I actually thought about watching Sam coach and how I noticed he'll say, understood. And like, to me, that is all presence right there. And it's empathy and it's it's like all of it in one. It's just this moment that he fully acknowledges the client. And so I don't know, that is literally what just came up as you asked me that question. Is Sam's coaching?
I think too, the word responsive is critical because oftentimes we can be in reactive mode. So when someone says something like, oh, that's so cool, or, oh, and responsive is more of like a pause before we bring ourselves into the experience so that the experience then can be for the client.
I will agree. Let's move forward to our second sub competency here, which is demonstrates, my apologies, curiosity during the coaching process. This is one of my personal favorites.
Well, then tell us what your thoughts are. Yeah.
What?
Tell us your thoughts on it.
I love this because this is what allows us to sort of begin to behave differently, I think, and really kind of what sets coaches apart from just your day-to-day conversation. Because I think in day-to-day conversation, we're trying to just sort of get a word in edgewise, tell our story, all of these things. In this space, I get to take that me hat off and I get to genuinely approach it from a space of curiosity. Like I know nothing. I think of like kids and a million questions that the kids will ask, or they'll ask the same question in a different way over and over, right? And they're genuinely curious. They're approaching the world because they're learning, and it allows us to sort of go into this space where we get to be curious about every detail that the client wants or needs to share, and we don't have to have the answers. We don't have to have the solutions. We just get to be curious human beings. And I really love that. And I think it's something that the more you practice it, the more natural it becomes and the more you learn, which is really, really neat. So it's one of my favorites.
So adding just a little add to that curiosity is really more for the client's benefit, not ours. Like I may be really interested in something that you're sharing. Let's say you're donating. I was talking to my dental hygienist the other day, and she goes down to Mexico and brings toothbrushes and toothpaste and that kind of thing that they can't get a hold of at a reasonable cost and donates. And so I became very interested and curious about that, but not for her benefit. It was my benefit. So when we're in that curious state and asking questions, it's wholly for that client's benefit so that they can find their insights.
And to that,
I'm really glad go, Sam.
No problem. And I was just going to say, to that point, it's curiosity about the client, it's curiosity for them, about them, staying with them, not just curious about, okay, how do I solve their problem? How do I ask the best question so I can get them to their breakthrough and prove that I am a good coach, to the point where it's not curiosity for us. So what are you curious about? That's what's going to determine whether you're really abiding in that subcompetency.
Yeah. And hello, Steve. Glad you're here. We're glad you're here too, Anthony. Sorry. Oh, hi, Sonara. Okay.
Oh, hi,
So I'm the greeting committee, welcoming committee. Okay. So this has come up in 101 and 102. And the thing that happens, and I noticed it even today with some of our students in the class, is people will ask questions to get more information about something they don't know, but they don't need to know it because the client already knows that information. The client already has that information, and that's not going to change. That's not the thought-provoking question. So the question I think coaches need to ask is, why am I asking this question? Is it for me to better understand the client and their background? And do I need it? And if I don't really need it, what could I be asking that's going to help that thought-provoking process to start for the client? That's where, for me, curiosity is huge. I think we get confused. Some coaches get confused. Curiosity is, I want to know more about you. Tell me all about your job and the company you work for and this boss and what's he like and why. And it's like, we don't need to know all of that. We just don't. So
the thing you can even spot is that body language shifts where it was moving towards you, your client's moving towards you and really feeling like they're being heard, to all of a sudden you just change lanes on them and they kind of draw and pull back and like, oh, I'm answering your question. You're not engaging me, but I'm answering your question. So watch that. You know, we all, as new coaches, make mistakes, notice it, make the transition and go, I'm not thinking that was the best question for you here. You could even go back to, what's a better question to ask you in this response to re-engage that client? Okay.
All right. I think we've covered number 2 pretty well, and I think we're ready to move forward to number 3. Number 3, manages one's emotions to stay present with the client. I'm going to let you guys take this one, and I'll be right back.
Ooh, this one's good.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a tricky one.
Oh, yeah.
Go ahead, Sam.
I think it's important to, again, like it says, check in on your emotions, but understanding that some stories can be tear jerkers, heartstring pullers, if you will. So it's not to say that you have to completely shut down and disavow your emotions, but be present with the fact that, okay, maybe this is causing an emotional high right now, acknowledging it in the moment, and then coming right back to the coaching session. Because if you try to say, look, don't show emotion, don't show emotion. What are you thinking about? Showing emotion. You're no longer in the moment with the client. So even for me just saying like, okay, wasn't expecting that one, that helps me move forward with the coaching session and check in with myself afterward. That way I figure out, okay, is that indicating work that I need to do within myself? That way that trigger point doesn't come again. Or am I just having a bad day? Did I not get enough sleep? Did I not have my coffee? So I'd say that this is important to check in outside of the coaching session just as much as within it. And
so I just want to add to that. If you're in a coaching session and your client says that In-N-Out Burger is the best burger place ever,
oh gosh,
you've got to prepare yourself, Sam, because I know you're going to have some tears and frustration because you believe it's Whataburger.
Tears,
right?
I might throw something. Ain't gonna be no tears up in there.
Yeah. So this is what I'm talking about. You've got to manage your emotions. Okay, you can't make your client wrong.
Mm-hmm. Listen, I got love for Whataburger and I got some appreciation for In-N-Out. So don't be out there taking that seriously.
But it's also not about agreeing either. We're not disagreeing. We're not agreeing. We're in that moment where, like that number 1 says, we're just in the definition, we're in the presence with our client. Now that might mean I have had, little emotional kind of tears when somebody is sharing something that is, emotional for them. I'm right there in that presence with them. I don't let it take me over, however. I don't let it become a place that involves me where I need to be coached. Anything, like Sam was saying, anything that I need to be coached on, I will write down. I always had a piece of paper. The margin was always about if there was anything I needed to work on. And I went and did the work to where now it's a different interaction with my clients for the most part.
That's that being empathetic rather than sympathetic piece, right, Lisa?
Yeah.
I think that you guys, I missed the beginning, but from what I have deduced, I think you guys covered this well. We touched on emotions and them coming up as our clients are sharing maybe things we have similar experiences, and then keep tempering that and being able to set that to the side. And I think, I don't know if you mentioned this, that piece of being comfortable with strong client emotions.
We did not.
That's important, right? We have to be comfortable with our clients feeling what they're feeling and capable of holding that space without projecting any kind of judgment on whatever it is they're feeling. So if we're not comfortable with crying, if we're not, you know what I mean, any number of things, and we can, the little reactions we give can make our client read that and pick up on that, right?
We're not the rescue society.
Yeah.
Right. And I think too, something that a lot of new coaches are practicing is letting those emotions be in the room and not like trying to shut them down right away with another question, right? Really allowing, the tears to flow, letting the anger to be there, not like raging and throwing things across the room, but that somebody's having feelings. You don't have to jump in and say something right away. Just let those feelings be there and then lean in.
Yeah, it's not our job to change that feeling.
And if for no other reason, most people in your clients' lives already shut them down, try to move them past those emotions. Be that one space that makes it okay for the anger, for the tears, for the sadness, without trying to insert something, the next question, a word of encouragement. And nothing wrong with words of encouragement in any other sense, but here in coaching, hold the space, make room for them to be okay, whereas the rest of the world makes it not okay for them to be who they are.
Yeah, I wanted to, that's really important, Sam. And I think that in adding to that, and I'm sure we probably covered this whole one right now, but sometimes, as Lisa had mentioned, someone's going to bring up something in a session that really pulls at your own heartstrings. Whether you've experienced it or not, if you're an empath or a highly sensitive person, they're going to share something that's going to be like, oh my gosh. And so what this one says, manages one's emotions to stay present with the client, is that we want to make sure, it's natural to, like, I usually put my hand on my heart for two reasons. One, to show empathy, but two, to calm myself down. Like to remind myself, I am here, I'm okay, and I'm here for the client. And then what Brooke, I think, said, or no, it was Lisa, write it down later. Okay, I'm obviously going to need to explore this. But that way, I might have a tear, but to not make it about my tears, because I don't want my client to feel the obligation to take care of me. It's their session.
Mm-hmm. I do little secret PQ reps under the camera just to stay fully present in the moment. And I like the mantra, not mine. So I just kind of, rub my fingers together and not mine. Like just acknowledging, like, it's okay that it's here. It's also not mine. I don't have to fix it.
Yeah. For those of you that don't know, PQ is positive intelligence, and it's there's a training program by Shirzad Shamin. So, but PQ is positive intelligence.
I'm muted. All right, let's move forward. I love this next one. So, and by the way, that was that confidence piece we just touched on, what we were taught. That's probably what they mean when they say confident, right? So let's move to the number 5. We're almost there. We have one more after this in our sub-competencies. Number 5 is as follows. is comfortable. I'm going to switch our graphic for us. Moving in a space. Thank you, Jerome. Is comfortable working in a space of not knowing.
Oh, okay. For this one, full disclosure, this is one of the ones I struggled with the most, because how many people out there think that coaches are supposed to know things and therefore ask and tell from that space of knowing? So it's almost oxymoronic. It seems oxymoronic in a sense where the coach has to be comfortable with not knowing. But if you don't know something, what do you have the best chance of exercising? Curiosity. Working in that space of not knowing allows you to flex into that curiosity muscle again about the client, for the client, not for you. You're not asking these questions so you can be well-versed in management consulting, project management, or whatever the heck the client is talking to you about, but you're curious and interested in them. So if you don't know, you in a good space. But man, that was hard for me when I first got started.
So that not knowing is a comfortable space, or when you first get started, it's not a comfortable space. How do you get comfortable? How did you, Misha, get comfortable in the not knowing space?
Were you asking me? Oh, I didn't hear my name. Well, I kind of sort of did. Okay. So how did I get comfortable working in a space of not knowing? That was a tough one for me too, because as my family will attest, I've always felt that I'm right. There is even a video of me probably 18 years old, my brother who's 16, and I'm explaining to my brother what he needs to do to take care of himself, as if I'm all of a sudden a doctor at the age of 18. So what I've had to do is, and I've actually been working on a lot in my own spiritual community for the last 14 years, to be in the space of not knowing is also to be in the space of trust, that my client has all the answers inside of them, that if it's not me they're seeing, they'd see another coach, that they have the resources. They found me. So if they found me, they've got it. Also knowing that they're not broken. And so I don't need to be there to fix it. My children probably wish I'd learned this years ago. But I think the idea for me in getting in that space of not knowing is really trusting that between the client, the universe, and whatever else is going on, I don't really need to know, because even if I did know, it wouldn't be right for them.
Yeah, that's so well said. I like to think of it as a surrender to the process. Like it's a full surrender to, I trust the coaching process.
Yes. Yes. Oh, hold on. Welcoming committee. Hi, Sue. Glad you're here.
Hi, Sue.
Okay.
What up, Sue?
All right. So I mean, the space of not knowing, I think it goes hands in hand with that curiosity space as well. So it's, again, this is that we don't have to have the answers. We're not here to give advice. It's freeing when you embrace it. Truthfully, it is. I think we can move forward to our next one.
Look what Steve wrote. Look what Steve wrote. Fear says, what if? Faith says, even if. That's great.
That's good.
Oh, it's on the screen.
Oh, yeah.
All right, let's move forward to number 6. Creates or allows space for silence, pause, or reflection. And we have, I think, touched on this a bit, but it's holding that silence, right?
I think it's in that presence that we have been defining here, what that presence is. And that silent piece is very impactful. The impact that you are giving that client to have their freedom to think through, feel through, identify without somebody jibber jabbering.
I think it's all, everybody's being quiet. I love it. I think it is also, it's being, not having to run from one question to the next, right? Not having to, we aren't already, as our client speaking, thinking of what our next thing we're going to ask is. And that's where this sort of comes in. And it's, I think, a great indicator of whether or not we are actively listening. If we are able to allow for that silence and sort of create that silence so that our client can think, and also it might allow us to pause and think and not be rushing to our next move. It's sort of, I think that is also where this confidence piece comes in, and having the confidence to not, I know I talk more when I'm nervous. I try to fill those blanks in, the quiet spaces in with words that are often meaningless when I'm nervous. And so the more confident I am, the more willing I am to STFU, if you will. So you can just look that up.
I'm gonna have to. I'm gonna have to.
Oh gosh.
But, I just wanted to share an experience which I've shared with the one-on-one students. I was in a coaching session and my client started talking about something and was going and was going and was going, right? And I was just listening. I was practicing not coming up with questions, not wondering, where is this person going? And it was amazing because just as I looked at the clock thinking, oh, I think it's been 15 minutes, the client said, all that to say, Misha, and came to exactly where they needed to be. And all I had to do was sit there. We have some coaches that say, well, they're going to pay me for that. Yes. And it's important to charge for it because there are people who've never, ever been heard to or listened to. That's the verb. Have you never been listened to by anybody? And so it's like giving them that opportunity to be able to work that out themselves. Yet we're a conduit, right? We're holding the space. We're being silent. We're not judging. We're not jumping in with the question. We're not directing or leading. It just felt really amazing that I could be in that space. And I got to tell that person, you did that. You did that.
Oh, yeah. There's one, just to give a special shout out here, as far as holding that silence is concerned, very few coaches have done that better than Dan has. With sessions he's done with me. When I was in mentor coaching with him, he sat with me in silence for 20 minutes when I was having a rough time. Just sat in silence with me. Gave me a second to calm down, get myself centered, and take out a wasp that was also in the room. Like, that was adding to the stress. So shout out to Dan for exhibiting that so just masterfully. Not an MCC for no reason.
Yeah, I can attest to that. Having been coached by Dan, he's great with that.
So this, I think, is going to wrap up our core competency number 5.
We haven't touched the reflection piece, though.
Okay. Yeah, the reflection piece. Good call.
Yeah. So there's a reflection where we are reflecting back what the client is saying. Some coaches feel the need to reflect every single thing. That's not what it's about, right? You're going to listen. You're going to ask questions that build confidence in the client coming up with ideas. That reflection can be snippets of what they've said, not 100% of everything. You don't have to repeat everything, but you do want to show that you are listening.
And I think as we move into our next core competency, listens actively, we are going to touch on that reflective space one more time, once again. So we're going to get to circle back to that shortly. So I think that they ordered these so that it would move right into it and we would see that again. Knowing that maintains presence is part of communicating effectively, is part of listening actively. It's all intertwined. So.